Most men lose power not because they are weak, but because they cannot control themselves. They speak too much, think too little, let their moods rule them, and waste their gold like fools. Today, I will show you how to master your mouth, mind, mood, and money, the 4 pillars of control, as Niccolò Machiavelli, would teach a prince. Throughout history, men have lost kingdoms, reputations, and even their lives not because their armies were weak, but because their tongues were uncontrolled. Words once released cannot be recalled. They travel faster than soldiers, strike harder than steel, and create enemies more dangerous than armies. A single careless sentence can ruin years of planning. And yet, most men treat speech as if it were cheap, pouring it out recklessly, without weight, without consideration. This is why Machiavelli would warn you, a prince who desires power must learn the art of silence. Think of the court, where flatterers, enemies, and opportunists wait like vultures. They thrive not only on your mistakes, but on your words. The more you speak, the more material they have to twist, distort, and use against you. An enemy does not need to know your strategy if your mouth gives him all the clues. That is why I say, the wise ruler never allows his thoughts to spill freely into the air. He speaks in fragments, in controlled doses, and only when it serves his purpose. His silence forces others into uncertainty, and in uncertainty men reveal themselves. Most men are uncomfortable with silence. They feel compelled to fill the air with chatter, to prove their intelligence, to gain approval. But in doing so, they reveal their ignorance. The prince, however, learns to weaponize silence. Imagine a room full of talkers, each spilling his thoughts like spilled wine on the table. The one who remains quiet, who studies, who listens. He dominates without saying a word. Others begin to wonder, what is he thinking? What is he planning? Why does he not speak? Their imaginations will paint him far more powerful than his words ever could. But understand, this silence is not mere muteness. Silence is strategy. To remain silent without intention is cowardice, but to remain silent with purpose is strength. When you choose your words sparingly, each word you release becomes valuable, like gold coins in a world drowning in copper. Men listen carefully when a prince speaks rarely, because they know that his speech carries weight. This is why kings speak in decrees, not in chatter. Their words shape reality, not decorate it. Consider also the danger of anger. A man who loses control of his tongue in moments of passion exposes not only his feelings but his vulnerabilities. To curse, to insult, to speak recklessly in rage. These are the weapons of fools. A disciplined prince shows his anger through actions, not through words. He understands that spoken fury can be forgiven, but a silent vengeance strikes deeper and leaves no defense. In negotiations, the art of controlled speech becomes most critical. The skilled negotiator does not rush to fill silence with concessions. He waits, letting the other side reveal their desperation, their hidden fears, their true desires. The one who speaks less controls the pace, while the one who speaks more exposes his position. This is the essence of power, making others reveal themselves while you remain unreadable. Even in friendship, even in love, a man must guard his mouth. To reveal everything you think and feel is not honesty, it is weakness. Mystery creates value. What is hidden is desired. What is rare is respected. Speak all your thoughts, and you become ordinary. Guard them, and you appear profound. People will lean closer, waiting for your words, because they know they will not come cheaply. You may ask, how then should a man speak? Speak with calculation. Every word must serve a purpose: to command, to persuade, to mislead, or to inspire. Do not waste words on what is unnecessary. Do not explain yourself to those who do not matter. Do not defend yourself against those determined to misunderstand. A prince does not owe explanations. He owes results. And remember, the fewer words you use, the more power you give them. A single sentence, sharp and cold, can strike fear into an entire court. A short phrase, repeated with conviction, can turn a crowd into an army. A ruler's strength is not in how much he says, but in how little he needs to say. Silence forces others to interpret, and in their interpretation, they reveal their own hearts. They confess more to fill your silence than they ever would if you had asked them directly. Let others be intoxicated by their own voices while you collect information in quietness. In this way, silence is not absence, it is control. Now ask yourself, how many battles have you already lost because you could not control your tongue? How many opportunities slipped away because you revealed too much, too soon? How many enemies know your fears, your plans, your weaknesses, because you spoke when you should have remained still? The tongue is a serpent, and if not tamed, it will poison its master. If you wish to rule, if you wish to be respected, if you wish to rise above the common man, begin here, with your mouth. Speak less, mean more, and let silence do what endless words never can. The battlefield of life is not always fought with armies, swords, or even money. The true battlefield lies within the mind, and most men have already lost the war before they have even drawn their first weapon. For the common man, thoughts arrive uninvited. He allows them to wander like beggars in the street, some whispering hope, others whispering fear, until his entire being is governed by impulses and illusions. But a man who wishes for power cannot afford to let his mind behave like an undisciplined mob. A prince must treat his mind as a general treats his soldiers, with order, with structure, with command. Understand this truth: the mind creates both prisons and empires. Left unchecked, it builds cages of doubt, anxiety, and regret. But when mastered, it becomes the architect of power, the very foundation of conquest. Consider the rulers who reshaped kingdoms, not through brute force alone, but through disciplined thought. They saw opportunities where others only saw obstacles. They turned problems into weapons. They ruled because they first ruled their own minds. Most men suffer because they do not know how to command their thoughts. They allow one dark idea to spiral into despair, or one fantasy to swell into foolish hope. They wake up slaves to their own imaginations. When fear dominates the mind, courage is impossible. When fantasy rules, reality collapses. But the prince disciplines himself to think only in terms of advantage and outcome. He asks, how does this thought serve me? If it weakens him, he discards it. If it strengthens him, he nurtures it. In this way, he is never a victim of his own inner world. Think of the enemy. Before swords are drawn, the cleverest generals first wage war in the minds of their opponents. They plant doubt, they create hesitation, they turn certainty into confusion. You must learn to do the same within yourself. When a thought of weakness arises, attack it immediately. Do not let it spread. Replace it with a thought of strategy, of purpose, of power. Your mind must be a fortress where only disciplined thoughts are allowed to enter. But do not mistake control of the mind for denial of reality. The weak man convinces himself that things are better than they are, and so he is destroyed by his illusions. The wise man sees the world clearly, without distortion, but directs his thoughts toward what must be done. He does not dwell on failure, but he also does not pretend it does not exist. He accepts the battlefield as it is, then focuses his mind on how to win upon it. Consider also the danger of distraction. Most men cannot focus for even a moment before their thoughts scatter into trivialities. Gossip, entertainment, fantasies of pleasure. These are chains that bind the mind. The prince cuts such chains with discipline. He devotes his thinking to strategy, to observation, to the analysis of men and events. While others waste their mental strength on things that do not matter, he sharpens his intellect like a blade, ready to strike. Control of the mind also requires mastery over imagination. Imagination is a powerful servant but a dangerous master. It can help you envision possibilities, prepare for dangers, and plan victories. But when imagination becomes uncontrolled, it breeds paranoia, fear of shadows, dreams of impossible glory. The prince uses imagination only as a tool, never as an escape. He visualizes outcomes in order to choose the best path. But he does not allow daydreams to seduce him into weakness. Ask yourself, when was the last time you truly directed your thoughts? Do you rise each morning with command over your mind, or do you wake as a prisoner to endless voices pulling you in every direction? Most men think only when forced to, reacting to circumstances instead of shaping them. The prince, however, thinks deliberately. His thoughts march in order, not chaos. Discipline of the mind also grants you mastery over others. For when your thoughts are controlled, your face becomes unreadable. Others cannot guess your intentions because your mind does not betray you. You will stand calm while others panic, collected while others crumble. This calmness, born of inner control, will make you appear almost godlike in the eyes of weaker men. They will trust you, follow you, and fear you because you do not think as they do. The mind, then, is not a private garden, but a weapon. Every thought you allow shapes your destiny. If you allow your mind to dwell on weakness, you will become weak. If you allow it to fixate on strength, strategy, and control, you will project those qualities into the world, and men will bend before them. Now ask yourself again, are you the commander of your mind, or its servant? Do your thoughts move with discipline, or do they scatter like frightened peasants before the sound of war drums? A prince must never surrender the battlefield of his own mind, for he who loses there has already lost everywhere else. The greatest chains ever forged are not placed on the hands or the feet, but on the heart. A man who cannot command his moods is like a ship tossed on stormy seas, going wherever the waves decide. He may have wealth, armies, and allies, but if his temper masters him, he will throw it all away in a single hour. This is why Machiavelli would remind the prince power belongs not to the one who feels deeply, but to the one who controls what he shows. Emotion is not to be erased, but to be disguised, reshaped, and used as a weapon. Consider anger. When a man loses himself to rage, he exposes his weakness more clearly than if he stripped himself bare. His enemies will see what words sting him, what insults strike him, what fears haunt him. They will learn exactly how to manipulate him, how to draw him into traps, how to make him destroy himself. The wise prince, however, does not allow rage to control his hand or his mouth. He lets his anger sit in silence, hardening it into strategy. While others shout, he calculates. And when the moment is right, his retaliation arrives with precision, not chaos. Think also of fear. Fear is a useful servant, but a disastrous master. A ruler who trembles at every threat will be devoured by his rivals, for predators sense weakness as wolves smell blood. Fear must be acknowledged, but never revealed. Inside, a prince may recognize danger, but outwardly, he must appear calm, unshaken, even amused by threats. In this way, he projects strength even in moments of uncertainty, and this illusion of control is often more valuable than true control itself. Joy, too, can be an enemy. Excessive joy blinds a man, making him careless. When fortune smiles, fools celebrate loudly, but the wise remain cautious. Victories, pleasures, and successes have ruined more rulers than defeats. For in joy, men forget discipline. They loosen their guard, spend too freely, and speak too openly. The prince must learn to wear joy as a mask for others, but in his heart, he remains measured, always asking, what dangers does this happiness conceal? What trap may be hidden behind this triumph? The art of control is not to feel nothing, but to reveal nothing. Emotions are natural, but they are private property. They must belong to you alone, never handed to others as weapons. To the public, to allies, to enemies, a prince must appear as he chooses, not as he truly feels. If he wishes to inspire loyalty, he shows calm confidence. If he wishes to instill fear, he displays controlled severity. If he wishes to charm, he lets warmth appear on his face. But none of these appearances should ever betray his true inner state. Do you see the difference? The common man feels and reacts. The prince feels and decides how to display. This is the essence of mastery. When men around you are ruled by their tempers, Their excitements, their anxieties, you stand apart, composed, deliberate, untouchable. This alone will give you an aura of superiority. Men will begin to believe that you are carved from stone, incapable of weakness, even though you feel as they do. That belief is power. But how is such control achieved? Discipline, constant observation, and the cultivation of masks. When anger rises, the prince asks, "What will anger give me that patience cannot?" When fear whispers, he answers, "What advantage will courage grant me now?" When joy tempts him to relax, he reminds himself, "What enemy might strike while I am celebrating?" By training his mind to question his feelings, he transforms moods into servants instead of masters. A prince must also study the moods of others, for while he controls his own, he must manipulate theirs. A calm word can inflame an enemy's anger until he makes mistakes. A calculated silence can make rivals nervous, forcing them into desperate actions. A well-timed gesture of kindness can soften hearts and win allies. By understanding moods in others and hiding them in himself, the prince gains complete advantage. Ask yourself, how many times have you been betrayed not by enemies, but by your own emotions? How many opportunities have you ruined because you spoke in anger, hesitated in fear, or relaxed in joy? How many times have you lost respect because your mood was written on your face for all to see? Power is lost in these moments, not in great battles, but in tiny slips of control that reveal your humanity to those waiting to exploit it. To master your mood is to wear your emotions like armor. Inside you may burn, but outside you must appear unshaken. Inside you may tremble, but outside you must look unmovable. Inside you may rejoice, but outside you must remain measured. This mask does not make you false. It makes you strong, because truth in its rawest form is weakness in a world that feeds on it. Now look at yourself as a ruler would. Do you rise each day commanded by your moods, or do you command them? Do you allow insults to ignite your rage, or do you let silence sharpen your revenge? Do you let fear paralyze you, or do you wear courage as a mask until it becomes reality? Do you let joy dissolve your discipline, or do you enjoy victories quietly, never letting triumph weaken your guard? Gold is not merely metal. It is command, it is security, it is the silent army that fights without swords. A ruler who controls his treasury controls his destiny. For money is the foundation upon which armies are raised, alliances are forged, and influence is purchased. Yet, most men treat money as if it were a fleeting guest, arriving and departing without consequence. They squander it in moments of pleasure, chasing fleeting comfort, while stripping themselves of future strength. But a prince understands that wealth is not for indulgence. It is for leverage. It is not for showing off, but for building an invisible fortress around his power. Look at the common man. When he gains a handful of coins, he spends them quickly to appear greater than he is. He buys luxuries he does not need, not for utility, but to impress those who do not care. In doing so, he empties his pockets and fills his enemies with laughter. But when a prince holds wealth, he does not parade it. He conceals it, strengthens it, multiplies it. His enemies see modesty, even restraint, yet behind this mask sits a treasury ready to fund his ambitions. What seems like simplicity is in fact preparation for conquest. Spending carelessly is the habit of fools, but hoarding without purpose is also weakness. A ruler does not cling to wealth like a miser, but directs it as a weapon. Every coin must serve a purpose: to build loyalty, to sustain power, to expand influence. Money left idle is like soldiers left sleeping. It rots. But money deployed with calculation becomes an army in itself. Striking silently where swords cannot reach. Consider generosity. Many rulers think that to win love they must spend lavishly, giving gifts and throwing festivals. For a time, the people cheer, the allies smile, the crowd sings praises. But gold disappears faster than applause, and when the treasury is empty, the same people turn against the ruler, demanding more than he can provide. True generosity is not in wasteful spending, but in strategic investment. Give just enough to bind loyalty, never so much that it weakens your reserves. Make others depend on your gold, but never let yourself depend on theirs. Think also of debt. Debt is the chain that binds even kings. A prince who borrows excessively becomes a servant to those who lend. His decisions are no longer his own, for he acts under pressure, under obligation, under the shadow of repayment. The wise ruler avoids such chains. He lends when it benefits him, but borrows only when absolutely necessary, and even then, with caution, ensuring that the lender needs him more than he needs the lender. In this way, he transforms debt from a prison into a weapon. Wealth also has the power to shape perception. Men believe what they see, and when they see gold, they believe in power. But a prince must be careful never to display all he possesses. To appear wealthy without being secure invites envy and attack. To appear poor while secretly holding strength confuses enemies and makes them underestimate you. Appearances deceive, and the wise ruler uses wealth to maintain illusions. Sometimes the greatest show of power is not in what you reveal, but in what you conceal. Money is also a mirror of discipline. A man who cannot control his spending cannot control his kingdom. If he is reckless with his gold, he will be reckless with his authority. Wealth reveals character, either discipline or chaos. When others see that you are careful with your resources, they will respect you, for restraint is a sign of power. To govern your money is to show mastery over yourself. But money is not only about survival, it is about expansion. Armies cannot march without food. Cities cannot grow without trade. Influence cannot spread without gifts and bribes placed strategically in the right hands. Power without resources is only illusion, but resources without direction are only dust. The prince turns wealth into motion, ensuring that every coin extends his reach. In this way, money is transformed from static metal into active force. Ask yourself, how do you treat your wealth? Do you let it slip away in pleasures that leave nothing behind? Do you spend to impress, only to discover that those impressed quickly forget? Do you fall into chains of debt, binding your future to another man's mercy? Or do you, like a prince, guard your treasury with vigilance, spend strategically, and always keep enough to act when the moment demands? Most men think money serves only to provide comfort. But for those who understand power, money is not comfort. It is command. It is the foundation upon which everything else stands. To lose it is to weaken, to waste it is to destroy yourself, and to master it is to prepare yourself for triumph. The rise and fall of every ruler is tied not only to his strength but to the men around him. Armies, ministers, advisors, and allies, each can be either a ladder or a blade. A prince who blindly trusts those closest to him writes his own downfall with his own hand. For betrayal does not come from strangers, it comes from familiar faces. The man who dines with you, smiles at you, praises you in public, is the same man who may sell you for a handful of gold or whisper your secrets into the ear of your enemy. This is why the wise ruler does not treat trust as a gift, but as a weapon. He gives it slowly, tests it constantly, and withdraws it ruthlessly when it is broken. Consider the nature of men. They are loyal when it serves their interests, but quick to abandon when loyalty demands sacrifice. Men will love you when fortune favors you, but when misfortune strikes, love evaporates like mist in the sun. Fear and respect last longer than affection, and loyalty must be tied not to their emotions, but to their dependence on you. To control relationships, you must make men need you more than you need them. Their survival, their wealth, their status must depend on your favor, so that betrayal becomes a risk too great for them to afford. Do not mistake politeness or flattery for loyalty. Many will approach you with sweet words, offering friendship, but what they truly seek is advantage. The prince must listen to words but judge men by actions. Observe how they behave when no reward is certain. Test their patience with delay, their loyalty with small disappointments, their character with temptation. A man who cannot remain faithful in small matters will betray in great ones. Through testing, the prince learns who may be trusted, who must be kept at a distance, and who should be eliminated altogether. Think of confidences. To reveal your inner thoughts too freely is to hand others the rope with which they may strangle you. A wise prince never shares his full mind with anyone. He speaks only in fragments, giving different pieces to different men, so that no one ever holds the whole truth. In this way, he remains unreadable. Those who think they know his intentions are merely looking at shadows, while his true plans remain hidden in silence. By guarding your heart and mind, you keep control of the game, for once your secrets are given, you belong to those who hold them. There is also danger in closeness. Familiarity breeds contempt, and men who know too much of you may begin to treat you as an equal. A ruler must maintain distance, even with allies and friends. He may show kindness, but not weakness. He may grant access, but never too much. Boundaries preserve respect, and respect is the shield against betrayal. Without it, relationships rot into entitlement, and entitlement turns loyalty into resentment. The art of control in relationships is not only defense, but offense. You must also learn to manipulate the bonds of others. Divide those who conspire against you, reward one to betray another. Sow suspicion among them until their unity collapses. A group bound tightly together is a danger, but a group filled with doubt and rivalry will destroy itself without your sword ever being drawn. Mastering relationships is not simply about protecting yourself, but about destabilizing others so that they may never unite strongly enough to oppose you. Even in friendship, a prince must tread carefully. Genuine friendship may exist, but it is rare and often corrupted by ambition or envy. To place blind faith in friends is folly. Better to treat friendship as another form of alliance, measured and observed, useful as long as it aligns with your interests. When paths diverge, the prince does not weep for lost friends. He moves forward, remembering that the first duty of friendship is survival. Ask yourself, who are the men around you? Are they loyal because they respect your strength, or because they find advantage in your presence? Would they remain if fortune turned against you, or would they abandon you for safer ground? Do you give trust freely, or do you test those who seek closeness to you? Every relationship is either an asset or a liability, and to confuse the two is to invite ruin. A man who cannot control his relationships becomes their servant. He is pulled by the expectations of others, swayed by their demands, blinded by his affection for them. But a prince must be master of the stage, not a puppet on the strings of loyalty and love. He must see relationships as tools, some to build, some to sharpen, some to discard. Only then can he remain above the shifting tides of human affection. Time is the one treasure no man can buy, the one resource that slips through every hand no matter how tightly it is held. Gold can be regained, armies rebuilt, and reputations restored, but wasted hours never return. The fool treats time as if it were endless, spending it carelessly in idleness, in distraction, in pursuits that serve no greater purpose. The prince, however, understands that each hour is a soldier. If he commands them well, they march toward victory. If he neglects them, they scatter and are lost forever. To control time is to control destiny, for he who commands his days commands his future. Look at the common man. He fills his mornings with delays, his afternoons with trivialities, his nights with pleasures that weaken his body and cloud his mind. He complains of having no opportunity, yet he buries every opportunity in the grave of wasted hours. He envies the success of others, never realizing that they have simply disciplined themselves to value time as the most sacred coin. The prince does not make this mistake. He treats time as wealth, guarding it fiercely, spending it wisely, never giving it to those who would waste it. Time is not merely for labor. It is for strategy, for rest, for building alliances, for strengthening the body, for expanding knowledge. But in every case, the measure is the same. Does this use of time bring me closer to power, or does it drain me of it? The ruler asks this question constantly, disciplining himself so that his hours march in alignment with his goals. He understands that every wasted moment is a weakness, every lost day a debt that will never be repaid. Consider how battles are won, not always by strength, but by timing. A skilled commander does not rush recklessly, nor does he hesitate until the opportunity passes. He moves at the exact moment when action brings advantage. In the same way, the prince must learn to master timing in all areas of life. Speak too early and your words fall flat. Speak too late and others steal the influence you could have claimed. Act too quickly and you appear reckless. Act too slowly and the opportunity vanishes. To control time is not only to guard your hours, but to master the rhythm of action and restraint. The greatest enemy of time is distraction. How many men are destroyed not by their rivals, but by their inability to focus? They chase every new diversion, every pleasure, every meaningless conversation, until their lives are scattered like ashes in the wind. The prince does not allow himself to be distracted. He knows that focus is rare, and those who possess it dominate those who do not. He chooses carefully where his attention goes, for attention is the gateway through which time flows. There is also danger in leisure. Rest is necessary, for the body and mind must be sharpened. But rest without purpose becomes decay. Pleasure without discipline becomes slavery. A ruler may enjoy leisure, but only when it restores his strength, when it sharpens his clarity, when it prepares him for the battles to come. The common man rests to escape reality, but the prince rests to conquer it more effectively. This difference separates rulers from the ruled. Think, too, of the people you allow into your time. Every hour given to fools, flatterers, or parasites is an hour stolen from your ambitions. The prince is generous with gold when it serves him, but stingy with time, for once time is gone, it cannot be regained. He surrounds himself with men who sharpen his mind, who strengthen his cause, who add to his authority. All others are kept at a distance, for they are thieves disguised as companions. Ask yourself, how many hours have you lost to idle talk, to fruitless entertainments, to tasks that serve no greater aim? How many days have slipped from your grasp because you allowed others to decide how you would spend them? The truth is that power is not stolen in great moments, but in small, unnoticed ones. An hour wasted here, an evening thrown away there, until years vanish and the man realizes he has built nothing with the time he was given. But the prince does not drift through his days. He commands them as a general commands his army. Each morning he rises with clarity, knowing what must be done. Each night he reflects, measuring what was gained, what was lost, what must be changed. This discipline transforms ordinary days into a fortress of progress. While others sleepwalk through life, he builds, he strengthens, he advances. Time is the invisible judge. It rewards discipline, it punishes neglect. The man who treats time as infinite will find himself weak, forgotten, and powerless. The man who rules his hours will see them multiply his strength, sharpen his influence, and secure his legacy. Every empire begins not with grand victories, but with the silent, disciplined use of hours that others were willing to waste. A man may believe that truth alone shapes his fate, but he deceives himself. The world is not governed by truth, but by appearances, by the illusions men craft and the perceptions others accept. Power belongs not always to the one who is most skilled, nor to the one who is most virtuous, but to the one who knows how to shape how he is seen. Control of destiny does not begin with fortune, nor with strength alone, but with the mastery of appearances. If men believe you are strong, you are strong. If they believe you are wise, you are wise. And if they believe you are destined for greatness, destiny bends to your command. The prince understands this well. He knows that men judge more with their eyes than with their minds. Few have the patience to search for truth. They accept what is displayed before them. Thus, The one who masters appearances holds the reins of their belief. Appear ruthless when necessary, merciful when advantageous, loyal when it suits your image, and cunning always, though you veil it with charm. The secret is not to become everything, but to seem everything. Appearances, when controlled, shape reputation, and reputation is the armor that shields you and the weapon that strikes for you. Consider how easily men are swayed by symbols, titles, rituals, and outward signs of authority. A crown is nothing but metal, a robe nothing but cloth, and yet they command loyalty from multitudes because they embody power. The wise prince uses this truth. He crafts his image as carefully as a sculptor carves stone, knowing that men submit more readily to what they believe than to what they know. The common man will waste his life insisting that his inner virtue is enough. The ruler ensures that what others see aligns with his purpose. Destiny is not given by the gods. It is forged by hands that shape perception. Look at those who rise quickly in courts and councils. Do they always possess greater wisdom than their peers? Rarely. More often, they possess the skill of seeming indispensable, of appearing loyal to their masters, while ambitious for themselves, of projecting confidence when others falter. Men place trust not in reality, but in the mask they are offered. The prince therefore learns to wear masks with grace. He may conceal ambition behind humility, harshness behind gentleness, and strategy behind simplicity. These masks deceive, protect, and open doors that brute force alone could never unlock. But appearances must be wielded with precision. A man who changes them too often becomes untrustworthy, for instability weakens confidence. A man who never adapts becomes predictable, and predictability is a weakness others will exploit. The art lies in balance, appearing consistent in principle, while shifting in method as the times demand. A prince may seem merciful while quietly eliminating threats, or seem weak until the moment comes to reveal his strength. Destiny bends to those who can act one way and seem another without ever being caught in the contradiction. Reflect also on the power of mystery. Men are drawn to what they cannot fully understand. When they see every corner of a man's soul, they lose respect, for familiarity breeds contempt. The prince keeps parts of himself hidden, revealing only what strengthens his authority. He lets whispers, rumors, and speculation work in his favor, for men will often exaggerate his power more than reality would justify. This serves him better than any open display. To control appearances is not always to show, but often to conceal. Reputation, once established, does half the labor of ruling. If men see you as ruthless, they hesitate to betray you. If they see you as just, they accept your decisions even when they sting. If they see you as fortunate, they assume victory will follow you and align themselves with your cause. Thus, appearances create momentum. Men will fight for a ruler they believe in, even if that belief rests on carefully built illusions. To control your destiny, you must make men believe in it before it has been achieved. But beware, appearances must be grounded in some substance, or they collapse. A prince who pretends to be strong yet cannot command his forces will eventually be exposed. A ruler who feigns wealth while drowning in debt will one day be unmasked. Appearances must always have enough reality beneath them to support the illusion. A structure built only of paint and facade will crumble when touched. The art lies in reinforcing your image with enough strength to make it convincing, while knowing that perception, not reality, is what truly directs the loyalty of men. Every empire, every throne, every dynasty is built upon the mastery of perception. Men follow leaders not because they love truth, but because they love belief. They need figures to worship, faces to trust, banners to rally behind. The prince provides these, not because he is blinded by them, but because he knows their utility. He controls not only his actions, but how those actions are remembered, how they are spoken of, how they are painted in the minds of others. That is how destiny is seized.